Would you like to reduce your net fleet fuel spend by 10 to 23%? Could you use that money in other areas in your company while reducing your carbon footprint at the same time? Click the link below and learn more. Hey, everybody. Great Executive Insights FEI. My camera is askew. That's a little bit better. My guest freight executive is Brad Reinhardt, and he's in St. Louis because he's president of WEL Industries St. Louis, right?
That's right. Well, St. Louis.
WEL St. Louis, just
Yep.
WEL St. Louis. It's WEL Companies, though, right?
WEL Companies. They're based out of Green Bay, Wisconsin. They got, I think, close to 400 power units, refrigerated. They're a refrigerated shipper. Mostly do refrigerated LTL, and they do sprinkle in some truckload with that.
Gotcha.
I think they have 9 warehouses scattered from Wisconsin kind of down to Florida.
Gotcha.
And I'm pretty sure next year is their 50-year anniversary. So they've been in the industry for a long time. The Thielen family's owned it. My agency, I'm in the agency model with them. And I joined them last July of 2023. We're still in 2024, right? Everything seems to be blending together.
So are you are an agent selling their services, their truckload, their access, that type of stuff?
Yeah. And then also have, my own customers and everything that we brought with us and stuff like that. So my office probably specializes a little more in the dry freight, dry van freight, flatbed, international stuff like that. And then we do sprinkle in their warehousing and truck services with that.
I gotcha. All right. Very cool. Very cool. So how you've been in the industry a while, right? I mean, I'm looking at your back, I stalked you a little bit.
Yeah.
At least the early 90s. So we go back.
Yeah, kind of like everybody else fell into the industry. We didn't have, I got the 6-year business administration degree,
Yeah.
Back in the day, graduated and realized, well, crap, now what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I know a lot of nothing. And got a chance to supposedly be a salesperson for a warehouse 3PL company, but the 3PL world really just started. Like it was only 2 or 3 years old when I got into it in 92 and went in to be a salesperson, and they decided immediately I'd be a better freight broker, whatever that was. So I walked down the hall and sat down and had no clue what logistics were or anything, and became a freight broker pretty much immediately, and did that for a while. Then I started a trucking terminal for TDC, a truckload company out of Joplin, Missouri. That's still around. Great company. Was there, did warehousing sales for 7 years, and then about 15, 16 years ago, me and a friend of mine decided to get into the logistics, own our own logistics company. And then we've been in the freight model kind of since then, the agency model with different companies since then. So yeah, it's been about, I guess, 32 years now in this fun industry.
Yeah, I've got about the same. A couple more years than you do, but pretty darn much the same. Came out of college, traveling around the U.S. looking for a job, and landed on a roadway open air dock in Toledo.
Wow, I bet those winters were fun.
Oh yeah, they were a blast, dude. Jesus. They were almost as fun as the summers. It was 3 sides of it were bordered by a dump. So 95 degrees was great in the summer too.
Yeah, you definitely get a baptism by literally fire or ice, I guess. Depending on the season.
Yeah, back when we used to have snowplow attachments for the forklifts.
Yeah, and it's been, of course, ups and downs as the industry as ever, but
sure.
I've absolutely loved it. Definitely found my, I guess my home or my calling in life or whatever. But I'm a big believer in the networking side of the world.
Yeah, I wanted to get into that.
Been doing all that stuff.
Yeah, so you're big into that, and I had a previous guest on was talking about it, about the Houston Transportation Club. Story Conrad, she's been president there for a number of years and just growing that. Now you're you're a member of, or you're heavily involved in, what is it? LTNA? Is that what it's
Yeah,
called?
that's I'm the national president of the LTNA. It's the Logistics and Transportation Networking Association. We're the national organization for about 55 transportation and logistics organizations in the U.S. and Canada. So the Houston Transportation Club's a member. We have Toronto, Seattle, New York, St. Louis. I'm a board chair of the St. Louis Transportation Club. Chicago's big, Chattanooga, a bunch of cities in the U.S. Have transportation and logistics clubs. Some of them have been
Sure.
around. I mean, St. Louis has been around since 1907. Some of them, most of them started in a good farm started in 1904, and then the LTNA started in 1922, I believe.
I got you. So it's the national charter. You oversee these clubs, or how does that work?
Yeah, we pretty much support them. We've had unfortunately clubs, of course, closed throughout the years, especially with COVID. We lost New Orleans, Memphis, Atlanta, some really strong clubs.
Yeah.
But then we're opening new ones. We're trying to open one right now in Omaha. Just talked to a gentleman in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We opened one in Phoenix at the beginning of this year. So there's new cities that are popping up, new, people wanting to, start getting that networking back in everybody's business. The social media, the world is great. God knows we love podcasts and Zoom calls and stuff. But I think that value, people are kind of re-getting that energy to sit down and have a cup of coffee or have a beer or, go to a ball
Yeah.
game or a golf tournament or stuff like that. Our industry, I feel, has kind of lost that through the years. I think COVID definitely, of course, enforced that where we are, most of us, did get locked down or whatever for a couple, 2 or 3 years. So I think people are now, especially with our industry kind of being down and struggling a little bit, people are realizing the drip campaigns and constant phone calls and emails. Boy, those aren't working me as a salesperson or trying to find my next job. So to me, that power of knowing somebody and needing help and making your friends and stuff like that, to me, it's always been incredibly important. It's kind of how I built my business, my own personal branding. But I'm
Yeah.
trying to keep that word out there that how important it is, to put your personal branding out there.
It is incredibly important, and I'll tell you, I came into in Northwest Georgia and in transportation and
Yep,
logistics, and the company was a member, and so was I of the Transportation Club, Northwest Georgia Transportation Club. Of course, most of the transportation members there were from the floor covering industry, right? You got your
sure.
Shaws, your J&J, your Engineered Floors, Mohawk, all that stuff is right here, in Northwest Georgia. And the networking opportunities were absolutely tremendous in getting together, and it always has been. And I think it's interesting that it has now. It seems that there's more of a national kind of networking if you're savvy about it, right?
Yep.
Um, I know more people nationally, I think, now than I do locally.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, and I think the LinkedIn's, I think a lot of that is, and people now are working remotely and stuff like that. So now you
Yeah,
can have, you never met, the person sitting in Tacoma that are, not only your peer, now your friend because you've been able to meet them on LinkedIn or through a podcast or on a
yeah.
Zoom call or something like that. So
Yeah.
as
I mean,
big
you
as
you
our
mentioned like
industry
3 or 4
is,
member clubs, and I know probably 2 or 3 people in each one of those clubs,
yeah,
just off the top
yeah.
of my head.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really kind of what LTNA is about. Our little tagline is connecting people in logistics. We're a free organization, so we don't charge our member clubs, we don't charge our individual members. And it really is to kind of keep people connected. We'll get phone calls saying, hey, do you know a warehouse company I can find in Savannah? Or, hey, I need a drayage guy in Carson's, California. Well, we can hook them up with either the people we know already or the clubs that can get them directly into one of their members or something like that. And then it's also just promoting. We have a conference Thankfully, we still have our national conference in 2 weeks down in Clearwater, Florida. I just talked to the resort we're going to today, and uh, they're getting the power back on and everything's good. And the local businesses really want us to show up. So we have a national conference. But we do also just promote, when Chicago's having their big, annual dinner or they got a tour or anything like that. It's really letting people know that, hey, if you're traveling to Philadelphia on a sales call, check your calendar and see if maybe the Philadelphia Transportation Club's having a happy hour that night. You can pop in the door. All of a sudden, you're meeting 70, 75 people. Could be customers, could be vendors. Doesn't, could be a great people. And people love people from out of town. Somehow we're always smarter and, got a different little vibe to you just because you're out of town and stuff like that. So that's really what we can, for us out there that are still traveling. I think it's great to get on the LTNA's websites, ltna.org. Check out all these clubs, check out their websites and see when they have events. And, it's an excellent way to walk in the door and meet a bunch of people.
Absolutely. I know exactly what you mean. If you're from out of town, you're automatically smarter, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
You've got like a British accent, then you're even
Yeah.
smarter. I mean, then it's like, holy cow, this guy really knows what's going down. But you guys, so, when we always did, scholarships for kids and stuff like that. So, I mean, I imagine the National Association is doing that type of stuff. And all of the other, organizations, they're helping people, promoting logistics, getting, doing their degrees in logistics, et cetera, through scholarship funds, et cetera. But and the networking obviously is very, very important. You're involved in something that is near and dear to me as well, and I think it's incredibly important. Is the troops to logistics? Can you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, that actually started out of course, networking. And I was at an LTNA conference out in Denver, probably it's probably been at least close to 10 years ago now. And I met a gentleman by the name of Scott Schneider, who is a retired Army vet. And LTNA had sponsorships. We were doing sponsorships at the time, and I was just coming into becoming the national president. And I wanted to get away from the sponsorship side of it, mainly because we really weren't getting, as a national organization, kind of a bang for our buck type of deal. We'd give out 500 or $1,000, and that was great, but we, really didn't see the students much or anything after that. And I was really looking for an organization we could support, and wanted it to be in the uh, with veterans and especially transitioning military. So me and Scott started talking. It took us a couple 2 years ago. And about 5 years ago, we started the Troops to Logistics organization. And really, what we focus on is if you're transitioning out of the military, you've decided you're going to retire, or if you are a veteran, we help you get into our logistics supply chain industry. Because if you've been around, or if you're in the military yourself, you've been around military people that do logistics, the way they speak logistics and the way we speak logistics, it's two different languages. They do more acronyms. It's unbelievable. Their budgets are different. Everything they're doing, we're all moving freight or moving product or moving people. But the way they do it mentally and the way we do mentally is kind of different. So we found when these men and women were getting out of the military and then interviewing for civilian jobs, there was that disconnect with them. So what we do is we set them up with a mentor. We have over 50 mentors and pretty much scattered in all the states in the U.S. And will hook that veteran up with a mentor in the same kind of lane they're looking for, whether you want to be in the TMS or IT side of logistics or warehouse or freight brokerage or, on the supply chain manufacturing side. We will mentor you. We help you set up a resume. We help you with your LinkedIn profile. We get you to start networking. And a lot of it is we teach you, that interview process. We help you with the language. That language is the biggest deal. We say LTL, they don't really have LTL, full truckload. The stuff we take for granted because we've been speaking this language forever. They probably have 20, 30 years of experience or 15 years of logistics, but it's getting them comfortable with that interview process so that HR person or that business owner, whoever feels comfortable hiring this incredible person, because our industry needs as many, great people as we can in it. And, having these veterans come into your business is a benefit for both sides of it.
Oh
So
yeah.
we've been around for 5 years. It's really grown. Everyone's volunteers. We're a 501c3. We don't charge anybody for the service. It's totally free. And it's really, really taken off and grown.
That's fantastic stuff. It's interesting because even different parts of the country within logistics, just civilian logistics, the acronyms are different, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Trying to get a job description. People call me all the time saying, how many job descriptions? I mean, a director in my business might be totally different for a director, account manager. Like, I think, our industry, we got kind of drug out of the shadows, definitely during COVID. But I think to me,
Yeah.
even before then, when universities started offering our industry as majors and minors, to where we're almost trying to catch up to where, we need some universal titles. What are our jobs? What are we doing? Everybody, people in Florida and people in New York, they do it different. They call it different things. Depending on what side of the industry you're on, we have different names for everything. Our languages is all different. So I think it's getting better. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
horrible for people that are trying to blindly jump in.
It really is because it's funny. My first couple of years, they were tow motors, not forklifts,
Yeah,
and then they were forklifts, and then I came down south and they were heisters,
yeah,
and the yard horses became Ottawas because that was the name of the company that made them. It's an Ottawa. I'm like, what the
yeah.
heck's an Ottawa? you know?
Yeah, we used to be the traffic club of St. Louis. Well, the word traffic is really out of our industry. You might have a traffic manager somewhere now, but people were calling us and bitching us about if Highway 40 or Highway 70 had traffic on it. And we're like, no, 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 no. We're not that kind of club. This is transportation. So we had to switch our name to the Transportation Club of St. Louis just because the language has changed in such a short kind of time, really.
That's amazing. Well, I love what you guys are doing. So where are people going to for really all three? Learn more about Wells Company, what you're doing there and your agency, give you all the business in the world, so you're rich and famous.
Yeah.
But also, the LTNA and also the troops to logistics. Where are we sending people to get involved
Yeah,
with
I
this?
think LTNA.org is the greatest, that's one to start. You can get all the troops to logistics stuffs off there, but that website's just the troop and the number two logistics, very much.
Fantastic.
And then my website's just WELSTL .com, just one L, so WELSTL.com, or I'm all over LinkedIn. So,
Fantastic stuff. I really appreciate it, Brad. I hope you have a wonderful day and God bless you. And I hope you keep doing amazing things
yep.
for the troops and your business goes well, my friend.
All right. Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
You got it. Thank you, everybody. Or thank you, Brad. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in to FEI. We'll catch you next time. Peace and love.
All right. Take care.